Hello, and welcome to Meeting Minds Global. My name is Michael Cunningham. I'm Executive Director of Oxford University's North American office based in New York. I'm pleased to say that I'm speaking to you today from our offices here on 500 Fifth Avenue at the corner of 42nd Street in Midtown Manhattan. My colleagues and I are fully back to work, and in the months ahead, we hope to be hosting in-person events here in our reception space. So please look out for emails about upcoming Oxford events in New York, also for Oxford events in other parts of the country. And again, we look forward to hosting these gatherings in person and to seeing you out there connecting with other Oxonians and with members of the wider university community. Meeting Minds is normally held, as you know, within the dreaming spires of Oxford, but sadly, we again are meeting online through the Zoom format. If you could say there's a silver lining to a pandemic, which is a difficult thing to say, but nevertheless, it's been heartening to see how the university global community has embraced these technologies and platforms and has allowed us to communicate with our alumni and friends literally all around the world. It's yet another example of how adaptable and in a way entrepreneurial Oxford has been. Oxford is 900 years old, but it has survived not based on its traditions or its willingness to stick to history, but its ability to learn from history, adapt, and be entrepreneurial. Perhaps its reputation doesn't really reflect that, but it was always there, very much in plain sight. But it took a group of, dare I say, entrepreneurial alumni to come forward and recognize that there's this great entrepreneurial spirit within the Oxford alumni community. And this group happily formed the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. And today, the group will be speaking about the future of innovation. And so we have a terrific group of people assembled today. Our discussion will be led by Neil Wolf. I'll say a little bit more about Neil in just a minute. But before I do, just a little bit of housekeeping. As you can tell, this is a Zoom session, so feel free to leave your cameras on if you'd like, but we'd ask that you mute your microphone unless you would like to ask a question. Please put questions into the chat feature rather than the Q&A, and they'll be sifted and sorted along the way. But we'll also let you know if it's an opportunity just to raise your hand and ask a question in that way. And I should note that this session is being recorded. I should say some words about Neil, who has just been a delightful person to work with, and my colleagues and I are exceedingly grateful for the amount of time and energy he puts in to working with the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. Neil is the founder and a general partner of the Oxford Angel Fund, and he builds upon his 36-year career in law, venture capital funds, and startups. He is a member of the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network Executive Board. Lives in Silicon Valley, where he is an avid skier and also a touring cyclist. Neil happily is Oxonian and read management studies at Lincoln College. And so without further ado, I'm pleased to turn the proceedings over to Neil Wolf.
Thank you, Michael. I'm going to provide the group, if Graham, you want to bring up the slides, with a brief overview of Oxford Entrepreneurs Network, which got started in 2014 here in Silicon Valley in typical Oxonian fashion. A Oxford alum came out here and then decided we need a network in order to support Oxonian entrepreneurs, and it has been up and to the right ever since. Next slide, Graham, please. Our mission is to build a thriving community for Oxonians from all walks of life in the startup world, founders, VCs, angel investors, service providers, and there are many people who are just interested in all the excitement and innovation that goes on in the startup world. Next slide. We have 6 chapters currently, 5 of them in the United States and across the pond in London. We have big expansion plans for 2022 and afterwards. I would say initially we'll focus on other places in Western Europe and in Brazil. I had a conversation with a group in Brazil that wants to set up a chapter a couple of weeks ago. And then late in the year, maybe in 2023, we will move on to Asia, which also has a thriving venture capital community. Next slide. Our chapters each do what they want to do the way they want to do it. Washington, DC decided that their community needed education in how to be an entrepreneur. So they put together a day-long how do you create a business plan workshop. Next slide. New York has, New England has put the focus on the life sciences because that's one of the core skills for Oxonian alumni in that region. Next slide. In New York, we have had a fabulous series of startup boot camps with experts teaching entrepreneurs how to run a startup and some outstanding industry overviews. And we're lucky enough to have our London chapter lead, Natalia Vilyavina, to tell you for a moment about their activities. Natalia?
Hi, good to meet everyone. My name is Natalia. I'm a London chapter lead, an MBA graduated in 2019 from St. Catherine's College. So we run here regular monthly events every last Wednesday of the month featuring industry experts, VC, and entrepreneurs. Our past events were dedicated to AI, agri-tech, sustainability, and future of health. Currently, obviously, all of our events are online, so everyone is welcome to join from around the world. You can see some of our keynote speakers and the caliber of speakers we have. So for instance, Professor Hagan Bailey, founder of Oxford Nanopore, probably one of the most successful spin-out companies in the UK, which yesterday announced its IPO at valuation of $5.5 billion US. And the next event will be in September 29th of September at 6 p.m. UK time. The topic will be quantum tech, and the two exciting startups are Quantum Dice and called Quants. Quantis, and if you want to sign up, please go and to our Mighty Networks, which you will see at the end of the slides. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. So there are multiple ways you can connect with Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. You can go to oxfordentrepreneurs.net. You can join our LinkedIn group, and as Natalia mentioned, we have a community-based platform. It's invitation only, which is built on somebody else's software called Mighty Networks. And that's the place we're putting more emphasis as we grow, because with a global entrepreneurial community, we want to provide an online place where our members can engage with each other. Next slide. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Oxford Angel Fund, but I would also be remiss if I failed to emphasize that Oxford Entrepreneurs Network is an alumni office approved organization. Oxford Angel Fund is not. It exists separately and alongside a whole group of us who are active in OEN are also active in Oxford Angel Fund. The fund is doing fabulously, and we are now on our second fund because our first fund has done quite well. We're unique in that we only take money, limited partner investment, from Oxford alumni, and we only invest in companies that have been founded by Oxford alumni. Fund 2 is a $3 million pool. We are almost done with fundraising, which we expect to complete within the next couple of weeks. We're at our number. We've already invested in 9 companies, which is about a third of the portfolio that we hope to build. If you're interested in that, email me or email fund2, numeral 2, at oxfordangelfund.com. Next slide. We have spent a lot of time talking about what are the values underpinning Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. It's open to everybody. We want every faculty, every college, every organization in Oxford to feel that when they leave the university, we are the place for the rest of their entrepreneurial life. We put a big emphasis on treating each other well and helping each other. We run a very flat organization, and while we do have an executive board, it is comprised of people who are actually running Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. They're not just in a supervisory capacity. And if you get involved, then you should expect that you will have authority to go along with whatever responsibility you want to undertake. And of course, we put great emphasis on the diversity, the inclusiveness, the ethical behavior of everyone in our community. We hope that Oxford alumni startups will make the world a better place. Next slide. How can, and the future? Well, I already mentioned our global expansion, and we are seeking to build out additional functionality, value for the members through industry focus groups. We want to know who every single OxEN venture capital investor there is in the world. We hope to provide career opportunities for students and alumni, and eventually, probably in late 2023, we'll have Oxford Angel Fund 3, which will have a global focus. Fund 2 is focused on the United States. Next slide. What can you do? Well, first of all, we'd love you to join, and there will be a QR code on the next slide, I believe, that you can photograph. We want you to volunteer to get involved, to make things happen within the network. If you're an expert, we'd like you to teach entrepreneurs about your area of expertise. And if you prefer one-to-one relationships, we have an extensive 100 mentor, 200 mentee mentoring program running. If you're an entrepreneur, we'd like you to get in front of the community and tell your story and potentially pitch the Oxford Angel Fund. And if you're interested in investing in the venture capital world, contact me about the fund. Next slide, please. You can connect with us either at these email addresses, or pick up your phone and take a picture of this QR code, and you should know what to do with it afterwards. That's all for me. Now we're going to have a brief film to give you a deeper look into Oxford Entrepreneurs Network. This film was created by Oxford alumni who are entrepreneurs in the film industry. So I hope that you find it as uplifting as the rest of us do.
It all begins with ideas. Since 1231, the University of Oxford has been a center of education, leadership, and excellence. It has also been a place of turning ideas into innovations and creating new realities. It was one entrepreneur in particular whose thought of building an Oxonian support network led to the creation of the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network.
When I left my corporate career to start this company, I sought out an entrepreneurial network, but I couldn't find one. However, I did connect with a few like-minded Oxonians, and together we had this idea of creating a network of entrepreneurs in the Bay Area from Oxford, and that became OE of the Bay. Then through the drive of a number of incredible volunteer members, that organization grew into what is now known as the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network.
We started as a financial aid application platform that's now used by 1 in 10 college-bound students in the US. The Oxford Entrepreneurs Network has been hugely supportive and helpful to us, whether it's been through our marketing strategy and advising us there on PR, whether it's been helping us hire designers, or indeed actually reviewing the first financial model that I ever built.
I'm very grateful to the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network for their support, energy, and the community they have built. It's a wonderful group. I started Monster Education at the height of the pandemic. I wanted my 2 kids and other children to get a personalized, flexible, and a dynamic education. Today, Monster Education offers personalized enrichment classes for grades K through 5.
We are the world's largest marketplace connecting brands to professional athletes for marketing campaigns. In terms of the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network, I actually joined when I moved to San Francisco in 2016. When the Oxford Angel Fund invested in us, it was an amazing name to have on your cap table. But beyond that, the Angel Network includes lawyers, marketing professionals, it includes accountants, finance people. So having access to that skill set as a friendly investor has been absolutely key to our journey.
Rip Venture Studio has 9 OxOnians, subject matter leaders, who assist startups with growth. What is it about my Oxford experience that contributed to my startup? The tutorial system. Researching the paper for the weekly tutorial makes you a self-starter for sure.
Actually, a family engagement platform, basically a CRM for schools and beyond. And we aim to be the ultimate destinations where families and educators engage, starting in schools, but then extending to youth sports, after-school programs, summer camp, etc.
As an entrepreneur, I felt like there was a lot of money being left on the table by not taking women seriously. And so that was really the impetus behind starting Pomp and Whimsy. Fundraising is an exercise in extreme networking and extreme persistence. Know where that next connection comes from that can result in a check.
C-Note really was born out of the desire to use financial innovation as a tool for positive social change. I had, a background actually in social entrepreneurship, and in fact, that's why I ended up at Oxford, is because of the deep roots at the Scholl Center and the ability to attract social entrepreneurship and social venture wisdom from around the world.
It all began with one idea, and now the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network is building a thriving global community. This network proudly continues the Oxford tradition of excellence and leadership and supports Oxonian founders building innovative and responsible ventures. Join us as we connect ideas, entrepreneurs, mentors, and investors around the world.
Well, thank you very much for putting that up in front of all of us. It's worth noting that Oxford Entrepreneurs Network now has about 2,700 members. One of those members and a member of our executive board, Eric Barberio, will now pick up and introduce and manage our entrepreneur speakers. Eric?
Hello, and hopefully everybody can hear me well. And thank you for the introduction, Neil. Look, we're here to talk about the future of innovation, and really, I think that video did such a good job of framing out the entrepreneurs and how the network supports that. And today's discussion is going to be about the innovation that lies underneath that, and it's a process in and of itself. A little bit about me, as Neil had mentioned, I'm a member. I'm also an investor, in the fund. In fact, I can remember the discussions with Neil so early on back in the East Bay, and came home and told my wife I can't write the check quick enough. So I think it's just a good thing, for us to hear, out loud on some of that history and how far we've come since then, and that I continue to stay involved, working with the entrepreneurs themselves, and in some cases in different areas of their company, to try to help them out. It's a really inclusive network and a very supportive network. And we're now on the path of building the financial capital as well that can continue to support it. So we're going to talk about the future of innovation. And I had a couple thoughts the other night when I was preparing for this, and just, what's innovation? We're talking about companies and entrepreneurs and all of the effort. We heard from Michael, we've been talking about Oxford itself in an entrepreneurial, framework. Innovation typically fails without failure, without trial and error, but it also succeeds when one of those trials makes its way through. And that's really where a lot of, when you look at a entrepreneurial ecosystem, when you look at innovation, it has to go through a process. And what we're doing, I think, as a network and certainly as a fund, is building that and helping to expand it. So again, very exciting for me to be, a part of that. We want to build a large footprint for the network. We want to build a large footprint, for the funding that can help them through their journey. And that can also help in terms of getting them connected as their companies really start to move. So that requires additional collaboration. As we expand into other chapters, I'm going to be involved with the South Florida expansion myself. And, just great opportunities there to see how else we can reach out and connect with the VC network within Oxford and even without. So we can provide an excellent path for all of our entrepreneurs. So this is, again, something exciting to be a part of. So today you're going to hear from three exceptional entrepreneurs, and maybe what makes this topic so nice, it really is we're kind of running the spectrum with entrepreneurs at different stages or different phases, if you will. We've got one that's going to be brand new and is brand new in terms of starting the first venture. We have someone that has been a part of a pivot, having to pause and look at a different direction. And we have one that's also going to talk about an acquisition or an exit, and is also a serial entrepreneur that has done more than one. So I think we really have a great group of people speaking today, and I'm happy again to know each one of them and be a part of it. Again, as mentioned, we're going to hold questions until the end, and we'll sort of, see how many questions are coming in and try to filter those. And if there's the opportunity to just go direct to the audience, we'll certainly do that as well. So let's get started. Our first speaker is Jin Lee. She is focused in the healthcare, space, really, healthcare systems and platforms and solutions around that entire, sort of healthcare value chain, and how, health services get delivered to the marketplace. I knew her first when I was an investor. So again, proud to say that, I've been a part of her journey, and over the years, she's become a friend as well. So just showing the connection and the power, I think, of what our network does. So she's going to talk a little bit about her journey with Baby Noggin, and I will turn it over to Jin.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today, and thanks, Eric, for the intro. I read DPhil in experimental psychology at Pembroke College, matriculated in 2008. Moved to San Francisco in 2015. At that time, I didn't know anyone, which is funny because I professionally, prior to that, I was a healthcare investor doing Series B check size, which means typically $5 to $10 million in the US. So I moved to San Francisco, thought that I knew how to start a startup, and for the next 4 years, it was very daunting. I met Neil and Eric pretty early on, I believe in late 2015. So right in the beginning when they were thinking about forming that Oxford network, entrepreneur network. I remember pitching at OxEN, and Neil came to me directly after a 10-minute pitch, was like, can I write a check? I was like, oh, this is getting real. So Baby Noggin, give you a snapshot, was a end-to-end app platform that helps doctors, parents, and teachers to track their baby's developmental milestones from birth to age 5. We incorporated developmental screening tools from the American Academy of Pediatrics, and that allows teachers to save time. It allows pediatricians to get reimbursed from US healthcare systems, payers. So when they do a screening, they actually get paid. And of course, the end beneficiary is the kids themselves, because when 75% of our brain reaches adult size by age 3, the earlier you can screen a child, notice something goes wrong, the sooner we can fix that issue, and then the child will have a lot more opportunity to flourish. So unfortunately, long story short, after 4 years, a lot of up and downs, a lot of tears and sweat, I ended up having to close Baby Noggin. And right now, I actually work as an entrepreneur, if you will, in a Japanese pharmaceutical company called Astellas Pharma, the second largest in Japan, and working on several internal startup versions of the project, if you will. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, Jen, and certainly appreciate sharing the story there, and the entrepreneurial work that you're doing. I imagine that you've been able to gain from the experience and from the work you did with Baby Noggin. I can say personally, because you and I have had discussions, Baby Noggin may have just been a tiny bit early to a market that may have been may be and heading towards more receptive towards it. So have you seen some of those parallels with what you did with Baby Noggin and some of the entrepreneurial work you're doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for one thing, I don't think I could get my current job without going through the tears and the sweats of Baby Noggin. We were, I think in a lot of ways, because we're looking at child health, at least in the US, we soon to realize it became a policy and governmental issue, which at the end they just didn't align with the expectations of the investors. So we couldn't raise enough money quick enough to last the long sales cycle in the US to sell into health systems, which typically require about 1.5 to 2 years. That being said, within 4 years, we raised close to $1 million, had over 15 teammates, was able to have partnerships with the American Academy of Pediatrics, countless letters from parents thanking us for allowing them to discover what's wrong with the child. It's with a lot of tear and sweat that we had to close down, but certainly carry a lot of the insights to my day job now, which allows me to run so much faster, to teach my internal teammates, and within 6 to 9 months right now, I'm able to deploy a product out to the wild, and I couldn't have done that without the experience of Baby Noggin.
That's excellent, and glad you sort of framed that for everybody. I'm certainly sensing those same things, and again, it's been a pleasure supporting you through it too. All right, well, we'll continue to move. Again, thank you, Jen. I thought that was great. We're going to move on to our next speaker, who is Chantal Safi. And Chantal is new to the network, by some measures, not new to the alumni world. I believe she's been on the board for the overall alumni group, but she's brand new also to the startup world. This is her first venture, and it's born really from an academic foundation, if you will. So really excited to hear more about that. The company is Cornerstone, working on solving problems in artificial intelligence and machine learning space. So I will turn that over to Chantal.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Eric. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Chantal Safi, and I am the founding CEO for Cornerstone AI. I believe that this is a critical time to advance an industry-wide discussion that moves beyond the ethical AI practices to create a world-class service for humanity in a very responsible way. First slide, please. As Eric just said, Cornerstone AI was birthed through research and academics, but it's now progressed towards a commercial entity. The problem we solve is the lack of ethical AI-powered bias-free technology. Our proprietary automated artificial intelligence machine learning bias detection software called CSAI Bias Finder is designed to detect inherent biases, race, ethnicity, gender, age, disability, and religion within an institution's data ecosystem. We investigate the development of inclusive data across the full data lifecycle and provide tailored recommendations to prevent bias. Now, I'm not going to give away my secret sauce in this presentation, but I can say that we have successfully completed 3 case studies, one with the US justice system and 2 mortgage data sets ranging from about 2 million to 4 million people. We can now say that we've statistically proven ethnicity bias in all 3 of these case studies, which is now enabling us to improve ethical AI practices and address issues ranging from cybersecurity, data privacy, bias, discrimination, and social equity. Our data engineers right now are in the process of publishing 2 journal articles based on our findings. And if you'd like to know more or get more information, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to tell you more about our process. Next slide, please. Our mission at Cornerstone AI is to solve inherent bias issues in data ecosystems for social, cultural, and economic good. Our AI audit service, it uses our proprietary software as well as ethical AI experts to help assess what transparency, accuracy, and security looks like with large amounts of data. Our focus is on explaining the potential limits in an AI first world, but we're also trying to dig deeper into questions regarding bias in machine learning systems. Now, Eric, one of the reasons why I actually started Cornerstone AI is for Oxonians supporting Oxonians. I wanted to provide an opportunity for our alumni community to share their gifts and talents. Currently, right now, I would say my COO that I've just brought on board is an Oxford alum. And the gentleman in charge of our whole legal services is an Oxford alum. If I had one wish today, it would be able to connect with other alum across the world who are passionate about this topic and would like to collaborate on different projects, but also explore the art of the possibility of working together in the near future. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great, Chantal. And I think maybe interesting enough, the New England chapter of OxEN had a presenter several weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, and came from that sort of academic, if you will, a research mode into commercial, and was covering, some of that. One of the questions that I have is, one, AI and ML is a relatively complex area. Not a lot of people fully understand it, and I would imagine, and you and I have had the chance, of course, to have some of these discussions, which have been great. Getting these people to understand it, getting these potential buyers for what looks like an assessment service of these ecosystems. What are you seeing as the challenge or the education process in getting that awareness with the potential client base?
Great question, Eric. I would say that the word artificial intelligence can mean different things to so many different people. And because it's a new subject matter that's out there, it's quite difficult to get everybody to understand what AI is at a common ground basis and level. And I think that's why it's to the benefit of all of us, Oxonians supporting each other to help explain what ethical AI practices looks like, but also proactively look forward to better ways for our future.
Excellent. Excellent. And, being press on it a little, being, right at that point of getting to commercialization, the service and product, how are you feeling about that? Are you ready to launch?
Yes, definitely ready to launch. And I think the need is out there. The demand for our service is definitely out there as well too. I think it is not a daunting feeling for me, but it's just more of me thinking, how do I get corporations, how do I get federal governments and organizations to understand the importance of bias and discrimination biases that's already embedded into their systems, their machine learning systems, as well as the way that data is being collected. So those are some of the things I'm thinking about as I'm launching my company, but also looking to partner and connect with other Oxonians.
Excellent. That's great. All right. Well, again, appreciate you sharing that and sharing part of your journey so far. And of course, the network. We're here to support that. So we will continue on, and we're going to move on to our next speaker. And I've had the privilege of knowing this individual for a few years. This is Rama Viraragu. And I think what's interesting here, if you look at the dynamics really of the speakers today too, Rama is a multiple company entrepreneur. So he's seen it from from start to pause or even pivot, as well as moving a company through the entire maturation process, if you will, towards acquisition. So without any further ado on that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Rama.
Thanks, Eric. Real privilege to be part of this community and speaking about the experience. Graham, do you have the slides? So a little bit, what I'll do is I'll talk a little bit about me and then the company and what we do, and then I'll talk a little about the journey here to this point. So I read jurisprudence law at Balliol College, and then was a lawyer for many years, and then became founder. I'll talk about that journey a little bit. So the company is DocVision.ai, and we have been acquired by OneTrust, and OneTrust is the leader in privacy, ethics, and ESG. And so what we do at DocVision is focus on, next slide please, Graham, and the next one, is really helping find sensitive information in files. It could be any kind of files, unstructured files like PDFs, for example, detect that certain text might be a name or a social security number, a credit card number, and then redact that information, and also help people to manually review that very, very quickly to get to the redacted file, so that they're only sharing the information they want to share. And there are multiple use cases for this. One is in kind of privacy land, people making access requests to companies and getting the information back. You need to redact other people's information and company sensitive information, as well as in legal, in litigation discovery and M&A processes. You need to redact a bunch of information in those, as well as government in, let's say, freedom of information type access requests. You need to find and redact information there as well as life sciences and other fields where you need to find and redact information. So that's really a little bit about what we do. And so next slide, please, Graham. And I'll talk a little bit about my journey. So as I mentioned, I was an attorney before. So I was working in London, initially at a large law firm and then a bank as in-house counsel. And I left London and moved to Silicon Valley. I didn't really know anyone really here and didn't know much about tech. And somehow launched a few products with my prior startup, Good Ripple. And I want to share a little bit about that journey and how it was. So I moved here, I said I didn't know many people here. And I was really fortunate to stumble upon the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network and be able to meet people like Eric and Neil and many others through that. And to echo Jin's point, doing a startup is really, really hard. There are many ways and reasons why people will tell you your startup doesn't work or it's not a good idea. And there's a very fine line between success and failure, and it's not very obvious especially at the beginning. And the reason I mentioned that is to really set the scene for how a community like the Oxford Entrepreneurs Network was really, really powerful and helpful to a founder like me. Having that community of people who've kind of seen startups before, understand what the journey could look like, and be there to support and help has been enormously helpful. So I remember presenting with my prior startup, Good Ripple. We launched a mobile app and 2 Slack bots, and I think I presented all of them to the community, and that was really amazing. Getting the feedback, getting support, getting help for doing that, and just to echo Neil's point, this is a kind of the community idea is this is the place for your entrepreneurial career after you graduate for life. So then the next startup, I definitely came back to this community and presented again. And this was DocuVision.ai that I just mentioned before. And I was very fortunate to be able to present there, get a wide range of help from introduction and recommendation from people to talent. So I was able to find an amazing a CMO exec to help us at the beginning, and another Oxonian from this network. Very, very lucky to get that. And also was lucky to get the investment from the Oxford Angel Fund as well. And so that, a lot of help there, and the community really helped us in so many different ways. The emotional support, moral support, and help in other ways that I mentioned, with talent and investors as well. And so that was kind of the journey that I wanted to just highlight and outline for the people in the context of the network.
That's excellent, Rama, and really appreciate sharing a bit of that journey. And as I said, the multiple launches and things that you've done. I remember the presentations, on Good Ripple, and then I remember the evolution. And there's lots of different reasons why an entrepreneur needs to pivot or needs to change. There's an underlying component here, and you're investing in the individual. As an investor, which I think you are now as well, with us, you're looking at what that person brings to the table, everything from their character, their energy, and all of that. So certainly, as I said, remember, both pitches, from you. And again, pleasure, certainly to be a part of it. So Greg, I got a question. Since you've gone through that evolution, to an exit, what do you want to do next? I mean, what are you looking at, or what advice would you have as well for any entrepreneurs or other folks on this call?
Yeah, so right now I'm really focused on being an employee at OneTrust and making this acquisition successful for everyone. And also, OneTrust is an amazing place to be right now, really helping organizations be more trusted by their stakeholders. It could be from their workforce, their investors, their customers. And so there's a wide, kind of really exciting time to be that fabric of trust in organizations. So that's an exciting place for me to be right now. In terms of other entrepreneurs or Oxonians who are here, or your friends, I'd be really, really happy to help anyone. That's one of the things about the network, is this people helping each other. And so anyone reach out to me, reach out to Eric and Neil and others. I'm certainly very excited by the idea of helping other entrepreneurs, hopefully help them think through some of the things I should have thought of before, that I learned that I should have thought of before and didn't. And, so hopefully help them avoid landmines, but hopefully also, enabling them to think differently about how they're seeing something that might unlock a new line of thinking, marketing, product, etc. So that's kind of the thing I'd be super excited to help other Oxonian entrepreneurs with.
Excellent. That's great. And obviously glad to see, the energy, and glad to hear too that, you're a part of the company that acquired you, and getting to, continue to push some of that mission forward too. So that's good. Really good stuff. Well, excellent.
If I can add something, sure. Just, I just want to say, it's amazing to, I have so much gratitude for the people who've created this group. So you, Eric, Neil, and many others. And I think it's something really incredible. I've seen many startup communities, but I just want to highlight how amazingly friendly, open this one is, in a way that's very Oxford. So I just want to kind of really thank you all for making this possible, and the Oxford Fund. And as you said, I'm a small investor in that. And yeah, it was, as soon as I had the opportunity to be an investor, I said, absolutely. And I encourage anyone who's interested to reach out as well.
That's great. Really appreciate, hearing that. And it's a journey, and being a part of this, even from the early comments from Neil about the growth and about what we're building here. I think everybody just heard, three great examples of not just from these wonderful entrepreneurs and what they're doing, but also this, supporting network, including capital. And it is the goal. It's absolutely the goal to continue to build that much, much larger, so we can help them, and help more companies through that entire process. So I think at this point we might be ready to look for some questions from the audience. Joanne or others.
While we do that, Eric, I think there was a question for me why I shut down in the chat. There's a lot of reasons. You'll find that when you create a baby, such as your startup, you not only invest emotionally, financially, mentally, physically, everything. And when it doesn't work out, it breaks everything. So people have told me, I'm an advisor for about 8 different accelerators in Silicon Valley. And I've gotten many different types of advisors. And people tell me, startups end because they don't have money. I don't think it's true. Startups end because the founders give up. And the founders will always find a way to get over a pivot until they give up. And they will give up when there is just everything is crumbling down at once. I was telling other people, it felt like I had to bury my first baby. That's how involved I was, and how deeply hurt it's been. But because of it, I also learned tons. So now, because of Baby Noggin, because of the support from OxEN, I totally echo what Rama said. OxEN is special, just how supportive and open everyone is, unlike the somewhat cutthroat accelerators I advise and invest in. If anyone in this group out there need help in healthcare, I have worked in payer provider, not pharma, pretty know the entire life cycle, happy to help in any way. So please, welcome to reach out. So, at the end of the day, shutting down a company and starting a company, it's ultimately a personal choice. It's, you can always get around the money piece. You can always get around negative feedback, but the founder always have to check in with yourself. Is this the right thing to do for you and your family at this time? And always ask yourself that all the time. Because things, there's going to be really good highs and really low lows, and build that support network around you so you can get through them.
Jen, I really appreciate you sharing that. Definitely. Was there another? Did someone else just?
Yeah, I was going to just add, if it wasn't clear from my presentation, I also had to shut down Good Ripple, and just echo Jen's kind of pain through that experience. It's a hard decision to take, but sometimes you have to, this is part of the job, and so to speak. You have to make those hard choices, and they're not ones you might want, but they are the ones that you make. So, and that is very, just to normalize that experience a little bit for everyone. I think it's very, very common in the startup journey to see that. So you see that many founders go through that. So it's not I think it is something to normalize, and it's just part of the innovation process.
Again, great feedback. And Jen, I remember talking, with you, and you use that analogy, which is a very strong one, right? It's very strong. I had to, hear it and didn't even know exactly how to comment, other than that part is tough. And then at the same time, how you have, pivoted into your new role, and as you mentioned, what you've learned and gained to be able to do what you're doing. Rama, really same with you. You came right back to the same table with a different venture, but that same wonderful character and ambition to get it done. I don't know how better to describe innovation than I think what we're hearing right now. From, again, back to brand new startup, trying to move from academia, and then the pivot stories as well as an exit. So I know for me, I absolutely appreciate it. Are there other other questions that are out there. We may be at a point, for hand raising.
So we're here together because we've spent a lot of time in each other's company virtually over the last year. We routinely work on big commercialization projects, big IP challenges, and there's been quite a lot of those over the last year. So we thought we'd do this talk together and go through what we did over the last year to tackle some of these challenges. So some of what we do is working out policy, some of what we do is making decisions and acting. Next slide, please, Robin.
Do we have I
think we have a question from, is it Kinney?
Yeah.
What are the critical skills for a founder, especially during tough times, and how to gain these skills?
I'd be happy to answer that.
Great.
Quinny, great question. So what are the critical skills for a founder? I would say it would be grit, number one, tenacity, number two, number three would be impeccable networking skills, and number four would be developing and having a good ecosystem around you of supporters. And number five would be making sure you have clear boundaries around who your advisors are, who are potential clients, and who are the friends that you want to come along this journey with you. And I think when you're when you're embarking on tough times and tough adventures, you end up turning to the different people around you for support. So truly having a good cheering squad is also one of these areas I'd say to focus on. And how do you gain some of these skills such as grit? I would say it's trial and error and practice, but it's also being able to admit when you don't know something and being able to go to the right resources, such as within Oxford's Entrepreneurs Network. There's several of us, there's thousands of us that's there. And even with Mighty Networks, you can go in there, type in a question, and within 24 hours, there is somebody to support you and help you along the way. And I think that's why it's utilizing the networks that you have as well as the advisors around you to help support your dreams and passions.
That's excellent. Great response. I think we might have had if there's other questions in there that are popping up in the chat, go ahead and enter them in.
I can just add
Oops, you may have went on mute. There you go.
Sorry. To add what Chantel has just mentioned, I think we all have gotten to Oxford because, we're brilliant in one way or another. For me personally, accepting failure was not easy. If you want to be an entrepreneur, get used to it. I have to learn very hard that to develop a thick skin, and failure, getting that no from a customer or a VC is just part of the process. And also it's not personal. It's not about me. It's just not at the right fit at the right time for whoever you're pitching to. And also, if you look at the stats, in 2019, 2.8% of VC funding goes to women. And that number is even less for women of color. So for all the women entrepreneurs out there, shout out to you just by being, thinking about being an entrepreneur, because the road will be hard. But I can tell you the difference you can make will also be tremendous.
Wonderful. Well said, Jen. Great feedback for everybody. Any questions or follow up on that, either from the entrepreneurs or from the audience? No.
One thing I would say, just to add to what both Chantal and Jin said, I think, a very specific thing is go talk to your customers. Go try to sell whatever you're trying to build. And you will learn very quickly to hear the no's and the objections. And that's a really good way to get validation and feedback on your idea, but also in terms of skills, you're learning to hear those no's and rejections. And that is something that you will get whether you're trying to raise money, that Jin mentioned, whether you're trying to hire people, work with people, get them on board, whether you're trying to have customers or users. that is something that I think it's a very important point, because at university, at Oxford, you're excelling. That is, you're mostly excelling in the field, and that's what you're trying to get to. Here for this journey, at most times you're not feeling that you're excelling. It's very, there are many highs and lows, and they're very extreme. And so when you're hitting those lows, you may feel that you're failing at something, and maybe you are in some way, but I think that is also part of the journey, and that you have to be okay with that. That is, it's very unlike if you are getting into Oxford skills and thriving at Oxford in some way, in the academic sense. Here, you're not going in to fail academically, but here you kind of have to put yourself in positions where you're getting those rejections, because otherwise you're not really pushing the envelope far enough.
Absolutely. No, good points, right? And all of us, educated, connected to Oxford, succeeding at a curriculum is a different, path or different skills, if you will, than succeeding commercially and getting that viability with your clients. I thought that was a great, great point. I think we are at a pause point now, or at least, the transition away and closing. A couple just last remarks from me again is to just talk about, we are building companies and jobs and lifelong relationships, through this network. So I know that you'll see several different connection points. There's probably about a half a dozen to reach out. There's been some, in the chat feed as well, to reach out if you're interested in the fund and interested in the network or both. So I will pause there, and either Joanne or Michael, turn it to you.
Great. Well, thank you, Eric, and many thanks to Neil and to our participants. Really inspiring stories, and as I said earlier, it's just been a delight for my colleagues and me as university staff to work with this wonderful group of alumni. So we're going to we put up some contact information on the next slide. So please do reach out and follow up and get involved. And so on behalf of my colleagues here in the Oxford North American office, and on behalf of our participants today and the leadership of Oxford's Entrepreneur Network, thank you for joining us.